Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, your favorite YouTuber, and welcome back, guys, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. It is Monday, the 28th of August, 2023, and as always, we have a lot to get into, and we're going to be doing exactly that in this video. We're going to be looking at a Bitcoin chart and really just going over where we're at in regards to Bitcoin's price action, relating it to the dollar, which is going to be the main driver. Bitcoin is rather I'm not going to say it. It's a paper bag right now in the wind. The wind is things going on externally, like the stock market having a bit of a pullback, which is very expected, so on and so forth. But even though I think there's a lot of pessimism, I'm seeing them all come out of the woodworks. All these great macro economists come out of the woodworks and tell you how Bitcoin's in trouble here. When you look not just at Bitcoin, but when you look at Bitcoin stocks, like miners, they're all setting up, they're all at support right now, and people running in and being bearish at this point, I don't think is going to be particularly spectacular for them. We will look at that, where support is. Bitcoin really needs to do something. Is Bitcoin just following the money supply? We'll talk about that a little bit in this video. We're also going to talk about September, Rectember. Are we going to have a crash in September? We'll look at previous Septembers and compare it to, or prophesize on how this one may play out, depending on what happens. Of course, if you lose that support and the dollar takes that resistance and USDT dominance goes on a run, then you are going to be in a little bit of trouble, and vice versa. And you could see a bounce here that could lead to the right way up head and shoulders that would have further downside targets for Bitcoin at just below 20k. But we can talk about all that. We'll look at the bear, bull, and everything in between. Also, you are having a lot of speculation that an ETF is actually going to be, or you're going to get a verdict on an ETF this week, as we have a hell of a lot of deadlines starting in September from all of them. Bitwise, BlackRock, VanEck, WisdomTree, Invesco, Fidelity, and Valkyrie. It's going to be interesting. An ETF is coming, and we're going to be talking and hearing from Charlie Lee in regards to where he thinks Bitcoin price will go with a Bitcoin ETF and where it will go without one. It's in the hundreds of thousands. And then we're going to talk about how the world is all going to move towards stable coins, as we're seeing stablecoin volume actually take over the likes of MasterCard and PayPal. No wonder PayPal launched a stable coin. You know, everyone will get. It's my belief that all companies, all your major unicorns out there, like Apple and the rest of them, will all start to offer banking services. You'll have like this TradFi banking world that I think we're moving towards, and then we'll finish things off with a little bit of US dollar fundamental news in regards to the demand for it going to new all-time highs. So a lot to get into as always. Strap yourselves in. Hopefully no one's too hungover, as it was a bank holiday here in the UK, or hopefully you are and you had a great time. Let's start things off with the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin, where is it at? Well, we actually are still bullish, believe it or not. And we're saying that people are wrong to be overly bearish at a time of support. Everyone's coming out of the woodworks. It is a poor show on Twitter, I'm afraid, when it comes to analyzers. I feel like people far too overcomplicate technical analysis. It doesn't need to be complicated. People add all kinds of these weird and wonderful things to their charts, and it just, you know, the real proof is always in the pudding with technicals, because it either works or it doesn't. Same with trading. You either get wrecked or you make money. It's quite simple, and people always overcomplicate things. Right now, you are at support. There are some negative signs here with Bitcoin. Of course, you lost this trend line, and you actually broke with some momentum that was largely expected. We largely attributed this sell-off to the fact that there's very low volume, record low volume on exchanges. It's a paper bag right now, and you had essentially a range-bound environment that was drifting to the downside. Historically low volatility. You had a NASDAQ that was looking to pull back, which was all expected, and a dollar that was looking to do very strong. Right now, the dollar is approaching resistance. Bitcoin is at support. Our bull case is this for the dollar. And of course, that will translate into this for Bitcoin. You know, has the stock market had enough of a pullback? Yesterday, I did a Patreon meeting. We do weekly meetings, and we looked at a variety of things, including a way to outperform Bitcoin through gaining Bitcoin exposure, if that makes sense. And we actually looked at a number of stocks that are crypto related that when Bitcoin did 1,600% in the last bull market, they did 16,000. Okay, and you can find out more about that by becoming a patron, and of course what we're buying and where we're buying it. We are looking to start up a stock portfolio because I think stocks are actually at a pretty good point. If we look at something like Coinbase, it's currently at support. Very interesting. I like Coinbase. We've said actually publicly we think Coinbase could be the next unicorn of the future, relating it to the likes of Apple and all these sort of things. But this is support until proven otherwise, and you want to see this taken before I think you get overly bearish, and you want to see what happens with the dollar and, of course, USDT dominance, which is something we weren't looking at until it was pointed out by the market sniper. But you want to see this taken. And right now it's showing you that. It's all going to be dollar based. It's going to have a knock-on effect on everything. Talking about the dollar, it's very interesting how people are making it seem like the dollar is dying. The dollar, just like all fiats, will die eventually. And what we saw with BRICS was huge. And the dollar is continuing to lose its status or be viewed as the world, something that people want the world reserve currency to be. However, it still is the entire system. And it's without the dollar, there isn't really much of a system. And actually, you see a huge demand for dollars recently. This is US dollar widens gap with euro. And this is obviously, I think, if you look at where the dollar's been rallying, it's really since you've seen this real demand spike. You've also got a lot of issues going on with China. People are likely going to look for the dollars to hedge whatever risk comes that way. So you're having a period of dollar strength. We need to see this roll. We need to see Bitcoin hold support. Bitcoin needs to do something, right? And it needs to do something with momentum. Your volume's still very low here. But like I say, we still think this is a stage 2 breakout until proven otherwise. And we think many stocks are in this sort of initial stage. The early stage is a stage 2. Stage 2 is the uptrend. Come and learn some stage analysis with us by joining the link below. So this is Bitcoin and the money supply. Are we just following the money supply? Well, I think ultimately we somewhat are, and the reasons for this is when they're inflating the money supply and the asset that the money supply is, or the money, in this case the US dollar, is against, doesn't inflate, you'll get a price adjustment. And essentially, this is something to watch. There's still a macro is a word that's thrown around way too sort of liberally at the moment, but it does apply. And really the creation of money and where it goes and how it affects markets is something to watch. You've got a better chance of being in a bullish environment when the Fed aren't tightening and when they're being sort of when they're easing than when they are tightening. However, there are pariahs like the one we're seeing certainly this year with the stock market doing pretty great. And of course, Bitcoin is still, people say, 65% up. That's not a bad return for a year, I'm afraid, guys. I know we're all spoiled in crypto with these hundreds of percent returns. Are we moving into Rectember? Well, September is probably one of the most historically bearish months in terms of returns for that month that crypto sees. This is going all the way back to 2013. And you can see there are only 2 occasions out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 that we were actually in the green. So you have a 2 in 11 chance of Bitcoin doing well in September. However, with all this ETF news, you may be surprised. This was tweeted from me. Please do come and check out my Twitter, guys, at @ALLINCrypto. You've got a lot of ETFs coming in for approvals and decisions in just over a week's time. It's going to be interesting. They'll likely be approved or not approved before the first deadline. We'll see what happens. These are all the refilings as well. And you've got some big hitters that are all doing this, and you've got more and more people actually filing Bitcoin ETFs at this point. I want to go over to a clip now of Charlie Lee talking about Bitcoin and where he sees the price going with the approval of an ETF and with it an ETF not being approved.
I always like hearing your price targets because you are so fearless. Where are you on Bitcoin by the end of next year, let's say?
Well, if the spot Bitcoin gets approved,
Yeah.
I think the demand will be greater than the daily supply of Bitcoin. And so the clearing price, this is done by Sean Farrell, who's our crypto digital strategist, is over 150,000. It could even be like 180,000.
But that's only if the spot, only if the ETF gets approved.
Yeah, and
this is a big F.
a spot US, because
Right.
a spot Bitcoin ETF is approved outside
Right.
the US.
Okay, but if it's not approved, then are we just lingering around 29,000?
There's still upside counts because of the halvening next year. So you'll have a drop in supply again. So the clearing price has to increase, but it won't be 6 figures.
There we go. Very interesting. I think he's bang on the money there in regards to supply and demand, and there being an overwhelming demand for Bitcoin with the likes of an ETF, and then this is going to propagate everything, and then the halvening will probably line up with it. You know, the crypto revival is well and truly here, and actually, we still reiterate that the revival is already here. Altcoins have largely just gone sideways. If you do get in a kind of negative September, actually that's an amazing opportunity because October is typically a lot more of a better month, one of the best performing months. And then the rest of the year could be quite spectacular. But we will see. So there's a lot to contend with. You know technically what to look out for if you get the bearish scenario. Actually, I think that's a gift horse in the mouth. You're looking a gift horse in the mouth if you're not going to take it. Because ultimately, the crypto revival is well and truly here, in my opinion. Bitcoin can turn around. It's likely to get a bounce here. The real question is, what does that bounce lead to? Does that bounce then set up structure that would indicate to the downside and fizzle? And then, you know, you'll get your bounce or your rejection off of resistance for the likes of the yields and these other things. You know, people are getting bearish and bullish on the wrong things at the wrong time, I think, as they run into resistance and support. Global payments network transfer value from 2021 to 2023. Isn't it interesting now that stablecoins have actually overtaken MasterCard and PayPal? Everyone is going to move towards stablecoins, and this is really going to further the adoption of many of the layer ones that these stablecoins will be ran on, if not multiple of them. So we still absolutely assess that there's a very bright future ahead of the cryptocurrency market. And for us, this is just an amazing opportunity. You know, we're very honored and humbled to be, you know, have this channel and to be looking into this transformative space at such a crucial time, and very happy to be on this journey with each and every one of you. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed this content, like is always greatly appreciated. So is a comment, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next.